Okay, so you want to understand what it takes to run a major international film festival. You picture red carpets. You picture flashbulbs, champagne, a director clutching a golden statue while the room stands and applauds. You think about talent, the films, the stars, the speeches. What nobody told you is that the real story isn't on the carpet. It's in the security contracts, the insurance riders, the hotel room bidding wars, and the spreadsheets of a nonprofit trying not to go bankrupt from its own glamour. Here's a number to start with. A single modern Academy Awards ceremony, one night, one telecast, now costs the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences somewhere around $57 million to produce. Not the parties around it, not the campaign studios run to get nominated, just the show itself. That's not a gala. That's the operating budget of a mid-sized public university, spent on one evening of television. Which brings us to the question at the center of this video. How does an event that generates almost no ticket revenue, gives away no cash prizes, and runs for a single week or a single night, cost tens of millions of dollars to stage, and somehow still make money for almost everyone except the people running it? Let's build one from scratch and watch the money leave the building. A major festival or awards show isn't really one event. It's three businesses wearing one tuxedo, a nonprofit cultural institution, a live television production, and a real estate and hospitality windfall for whatever city hosts it. Those three businesses have different owners, different incentives, and different bank accounts, and almost none of the money moves the way audiences assume it does. The tension baked in from the start is this. The festival needs to look effortlessly glamorous in order to attract the films, stars, and press that make it valuable. But effortless glamour is one of the most expensive things in the world to manufacture. Every year, the gap between looks free and actually free gets paid for by someone, and that someone is rarely who you'd guess. Before a single red carpet is rolled out, a festival is already spending. Major festivals receive thousands of submissions a year, each of which has to be logged, screened, and evaluated by paid programmers and committees working months in advance. This is the unglamorous back office of the operation: flights to regional scouting festivals, screening room rentals, translation and subtitling costs for films in a dozen languages. None of this appears on screen. All of it is a full-time, year-round payroll operating quietly under an event the public experiences as 2 weeks in May. Then comes the physical build. A festival headquarters like the Palais des Festivals in Cannes has to be transformed, floor by floor, into a functioning city: screening theaters, market stalls for film sales, press rooms, hospitality suites. Tens of thousands of accredited industry professionals move through these spaces over a single fortnight. The film market that runs alongside the festival, where distribution deals actually get signed, turns over hundreds of millions of dollars in business in that same window, which is precisely why the physical infrastructure has to be built to Fortune 500 conference standards, torn down, and rebuilt again the following year. Here's the part that surprised organizers themselves. Security used to be a line item. Now it's one of the largest single expenses on the sheet. After a string of vehicle attacks in France, the city hosting one major festival spent roughly $6 million on retractable security bollards alone, permanent concrete and steel barriers installed at every entry point to the town, not just the venue. Add police overtime, bomb-sniffing dog units, credential verification systems, and private security contracts layered on top of municipal police, and a modern festival's security bill can rival its entire programming budget from a decade earlier. This is a cost that generates zero visible content. Nobody films the bollards, nobody posts them, and yet without them there is no festival at all, just a liability nobody will insure. The common belief is that winners are simply chosen by the industry. That's incomplete too. Running a credible jury or a voting body is its own logistics operation. Jurors and voting members have to be flown in, housed, and often paid honoraria for weeks of their time watching films back to back. Larger academies maintain entire departments dedicated to verifying tens of thousands of accreditation requests from press, buyers, and industry professionals, checking credentials, printing badges, and running background systems designed to keep an event with almost no ticket gate secure from counterfeit access. None of this produces a single frame of footage the public will ever see, and all of it has to run flawlessly, because a credentialing failure is the kind of story that makes headlines for the wrong reasons. This is where the popular belief that the stars pay their own way falls apart. It's incomplete. What actually happens is closer to a subsidized theater production. A single A-list actress's red carpet look, gown, jewelry, styling team, security for the jewelry itself can run into the millions, frequently underwritten by fashion houses and jewelers who treat the carpet as a live advertisement. Meanwhile, the carpet itself, tens of thousands of square feet of it, costs tens of thousands of dollars to fabricate, ship, and lay down by a dedicated install crew over multiple days. None of this is charity. It's a barter economy. Brands get eyeballs, festivals get spectacle, and the actual cash rarely touches the person wearing the dress. Now the real spending begins, producing a single televised ceremony, staging, lighting, a full orchestra, a writer's room, a small army of stagehands. A host paid what sounds like a modest fee compared to everything around them, pushes total ceremony production costs into the tens of millions. That figure covers weeks of rehearsal inside a rented theater that has to go dark for other business to accommodate the build. Broadcasters, in turn, pay enormous sums for the right to air it. One U.S. network extended its broadcast contract for well over $1 billion across a decade, then recoups that investment by charging over $1 million for a single 30-second advertisement during the telecast. The ceremony is not a party with cameras in the room. It is a television production that happens to have a party inside it, and the party exists largely to give the cameras something worth pointing at during commercial breaks. Every official event spawns a shadow economy of unofficial ones. Studios spend heavily on private dinners, listening parties, and for your consideration campaigns designed to sway voters. Costs that, added together across a single award season, can dwarf what the ceremony itself spends on any single film. These campaigns run for months before anyone puts on a gown, funding trade publication advertising, screening rooms, and hospitality suites that exist purely to keep one title in front of the people who vote. Meanwhile, the host city becomes an accidental profit center. Hotel rooms within walking distance of the main venue have been known to jump from roughly €40 a night to over €250 the moment the event begins, sometimes rising fivefold at nearby three-star properties, with the last remaining rooms filling instantly at the very top price. A festival's economic footprint on its host town can reach into the hundreds of millions of dollars. A Los Angeles ceremony alone has been estimated to generate well over $100 million in local economic activity in a single weekend. None of that appears on the festival's own books because it isn't the festival's money, it's the town's. Behind the ballroom, the labor is enormous and largely invisible. Red carpets, some over 50,000 square feet of fabric, are installed by overnight crews working through the night on tight union call sheets, often logging hundreds of combined labor hours before a single celebrity ever sets foot on them. Local hospitality and gig workers absorb a 2-week surge in demand and then a 2-week collapse, scrambling for shifts that exist for a single fortnight and vanish just as fast. Junior programmers and press office staff work 18-hour days for months leading up to the event for a fraction of what any name attached to the red carpet earns in a single appearance fee. The glamour is real for a very small number of people in the room. For a much larger number of people, the festival is simply the hardest 2 weeks of their working year, compensated at a rate that has nothing to do with the number attached to the event's total budget. Every one of these institutions eventually meets a moment where the model buckles under its own cost structure. A pandemic can cancel an in-person ceremony entirely, collapsing ticket, hospitality, and sponsorship revenue in a single year, while fixed costs, staff, contracts, insurance, multi-year venue commitments remain due regardless. One recent pandemic-era ceremony still cost well over $40 million to stage with almost none of the usual audience or hospitality revenue behind it, because contracts signed years in advance don't pause simply because the world does. A boycott or scandal can trigger sponsor pullouts overnight. The exact kind of reputational risk insurance is bought to cover but can never fully offset, since no policy reimburses a brand for the damage of being associated with the wrong headline. And because so much of the festival's income depends on perceived prestige rather than a product anyone actually purchases, a single bad year of press coverage can do more damage to next year's budget than any line item overrun ever could. A leaked jury dispute, a boycotted red carpet, a Best Picture envelope handed to the wrong film in front of 40 million viewers. Each is a reputational event with a real, if unbilled, line item attached to it. These institutions run enormous fixed costs against a revenue base that is, at its core, built on vibes, and vibes are the one input no insurance policy can underwrite. Zoom out, and this is the same machine that powers every major awards show, trade convention, and prestige gathering still standing today, from fashion weeks to tech keynotes to the Super Bowl halftime show. Any event that monetizes attention rather than a physical product will inevitably spend a fortune manufacturing the appearance that none of it cost anything at all. Streaming has only intensified this. Platforms now bankroll awards campaigns and festival premieres as marketing line items, folding the old glamour economy directly into their own subscriber acquisition budgets. A major film festival was never simply a celebration of cinema. It was a live television production, a real estate windfall, and an insurance liability, wearing a black tie costume. And the most expensive trick it ever pulled was convincing the audience that none of that was true.